Okay. So that would kind of actually come in the next stage actually, that I will be kind of discussing. It won't be in the trial actually. Okay. This is actually a correct point, like how we normally do the incident, but in that it won't actually fit the trial state. Okay. That how many users have been impacted. Those all things will be coming in the stage that I'll be kind of discussing, but that's actually the one of the most important part of any of this. Let's say you got an alert. So that is the most important part. So, but it will come into the next stage. For the trial, it will be kind of more basic one, more basic in the layman terms. So, what are things you will do in the trials? So, one of the things definitely, like let's say the one point that you said was that okay, you will do some check like in the virus total. Uh, let's say you will start with much more basic. Okay, let's say you got a system, you got the details of the system. You will try to test the details of the system where it is located. Okay, located the employee who is assigned to that laptop. That is something you will kind of like figuring out. Then you will figure out this employee is part of which team, who is his or her manager, what's his post. This all thing you will kind of quickly figure out in the trial state. The other thing that you will kind of figure out is definitely is that, and if that alert was seen earlier, okay, and what was the conclusion of that? What was the conclusion? Was it benign positive, false positive, or true positive? So this is something you will kind of check. So if it was, let's say it was a benign positive, for example, in the past case for similar kind of alert for a similar query, so maybe you will get an idea that okay, you are dealing with a benign positive case with a very high confidence, let's say 90% of confidence. This alert will also kind of turn out to be benign positive. Okay. But you need to kind of investigate further. But thing is that you will record all this statement in your incident management tool, that okay, this is system who, where it is located, who is the employee, who is the manager, when it was like turned on, what's the current stage of this one, what's the current stage of that system, and then like what all things were seen for this alert in past, and also what all were there any alerts for this system itself in past. Okay, so this all thing you will kind of figure out during the alert phase, during the trial phase. Okay, the basic details about the incident. Okay, so I hope you got an idea what things you need to kind of do in the trial stage. The other thing that definitely one other thing is that quickly, maybe you, as you told, like we might do some virus total check and see that if the alert is actually correct. Okay, is actually correct. So this all, or is the IOC stale, let's say for an example. Okay, so these all things will quickly check during the trial state. Okay, so we'll collect all these details about that alert in the trial state, and then once we have done that, then we will be kind of going into the assessment part. Okay, an assessment part I mean is that in the assessment part is that, as you guys told, we will perform the log analysis. Okay, we'll perform the log analysis to understand if the only objective will be to understand if the case that we are handling, if the case that we are handling, the case is either false positive, true positive, or benign positive. Let's say. Okay. So in that, so we will be kind of doing two things in the identification. The first thing is the trials. Okay, collect all the details about the alert, and the next thing is the assessment. Perform the log analysis part. So let's say for this alert, which was a malicious domain was queried. So can you guys tell me quickly, like what all alerts, what all logs you would kind of see for this one to handle this kind of alert? And any guesswork, like okay, what all kind of logs you will start looking at to kind of figure out if this is a false positive case or a true positive case? What would be your
So we'll be getting a malware infection as an alert when we are looking at those logs, and it will show whether the particular user is visiting TikTok.com or Facebook.com, and that particular website will be actually um, blocked in the firewall, but still they will be using any other domain names, and they will be accessing it. Due to that, malware might be got infected in the system, and it will show up in the logs, events, and the alerts.
So to answer, so I mean is that to answer this kind of question, what are the kind of logs that you will kind of try to fetch? Any question on that? What would kind of logs you would kind of normally try to find out?
So DNS logs.
Yes. And anything else? And
Firewall
what
logs.
logs? Okay. Firewall logs. And anything okay. And anything on the system?
We can look in, and also we can look at the Windows logs, the PC that has been compromised. We can look at that logs as well.
Okay. So at least, yeah. So these all things are actually correct. So we will at least start with a DNS log. Let's say the firewall logs and the Windows. So in the DNS log, one thing that we will kind of try to see, let's say if somehow we can kind of let's say one of the thing actually happens in most of the cases is that what I personally do, I first perform the baseline, okay, of the network logs, for an example. So let's say in most of the cases what happens is that let's say there is a Windows system, and there is some kind of research based activity going on, and this system is kind of allocated to a research team, for an example. Okay, and how will I know that? We will only know that once we have completed the trials part. The trials part will help us understand, will this case be turning out to be a false positive or benign positive? We'll start getting a sense of that just with the trials part. So once we have done the trials part, we'll know that, okay, let's say this Windows system is belong to a research team. Okay, so we'll know in our head that this case might turn out to be benign positive. So there has been multiple cases. What I do is that I do a baseline. So let's say there was a DNS query that was made. What I would do is that I would perform the baseline of this DNS query, of the DNS log, and I will see like how many DNS query were made. Let's say in 3 seconds, in 3 plus minus 3 seconds, the time when this specific DNS query was queried, for which we have got the alert. So in most cases, what happened is that I see that, okay, there are like, let's say 4,000 DNS requests in plus minus 3 seconds, and it is happening for random websites. Okay, not just unique website, but for random website. Okay, so in that case, I get a little bit more idea that it is a case of web crawling, for an example. Maybe the research team is doing some kind of web crawling over the internet to collect certain details from the publicly available data. Okay, so this whole thing I would kind of start with kind of. So your answers were actually correct. We will kind of start with DNS, maybe it's a firewall or Windows log. And in the DNS, maybe what I will do is I will do some quick baseline. Okay, and even like, let's say the NetFlow logs, I will do a quick baseline, NetFlow log baseline, to understand a few things. One is like, okay, what is the port number, maybe the source port that is making that connection, and what is the IP address of that system. Okay, and is there any kind of like, let's say, spike of data? Let's say data spike, like any exfiltration going, any data exfil is happening or not. So this whole thing will be quickly kind of, let's say, you can quickly get all this kind of info in the assessment part by looking at those kind of logs. You perform the baseline analysis of those logs. Okay, and you will kind of get those things. So basically what I mean is that in the identification stage is all about figuring out if this case is like false positive, true